Tonight, Donald Trump guilty, the first US president to become a convicted criminal. A shock revelation on the health of the Florida double murderer. What a health department whistleblower wants you to know. Perth streets flooded as farmers stage a peak-hour protest over the live export ban. Details on a multi-billion-dollar deal between Perth Airport and Qantas. Plus, the Aussie seniors behind a cash campaign fighting for their rights. Thousands of fans flock to Optus Stadium as Italian football fever sweeps Perth.
This is 9 News Perth with Michael Thomson.
Good evening. Donald Trump is the first former US president to become a convicted criminal after the word guilty reverberated 34 times through a New York courthouse. The stunning verdict in his hush money trial sets the Republican presidential candidate up for a hefty fine or worse, possible jail time.
Guilty! Guilty! Guilty!
A verdict that will reshape America.
Count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty.
Count 33, former President Donald Trump found guilty.
Donald Trump was stony-faced in the Manhattan courthouse as the verdict was read out. Guilty of all 34 counts of business fraud, hush money payments to cover up an affair with a porn star and influence the 2016 election. The first criminal conviction of a US president, a legacy that will haunt him.
We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution.
His supporters had argued he couldn't get a fair trial in Manhattan.
What goes on?
But still, they were shell-shocked.
Should have been televised. Let the American people, let the world see what's going on here.
Cheers erupted in the park across the street.
I'm thrilled. It sort of breaks the spell of his escaping consequence.
But even for those who despise him, it felt bittersweet.
I know regardless of what he does, he's still going to have supporters, so we'll have to see.
The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
The jury overlooked the flaws of star witness Michael Cohen.
So this is a 6-year process within which for accountability to finally be had.
Trump's former fixer, who brokered the deal for his boss with the head of the National Enquirer, David Pecker.
It's a confirmation for me of a lot of things that I suspected were going on and that I thought had crossed a line but couldn't really kind of confirm it in real time.
The husband of former adult film star Stormy Daniels said this was a big weight off her shoulders.
This wasn't her case. She didn't ask for this.
And it was a vindication for the Manhattan District Attorney, who praised his team for following the facts without fear or favour.
The only voice that matters is the voice of the jury, and the jury has spoken.
Donald Trump will be sentenced on July 11. A jail sentence is possible, but unlikely. Few convicts come with a lifetime Secret Service detail.
Until now, Donald Trump's troubles with the law have bolstered his base, but he's now in uncharted territory, campaigning as a convicted felon.
This would be a devastating blow for most presidential candidates. But his son Eric filmed as Trump appeared unfazed as both tears and jeers rained down on Trump Tower. From eldest daughter Ivanka, "I love you, Dad." His family sending public messages of support, except for wife Melania.
US correspondent Alison Petrowski has more on where Donald Trump goes from here.
Donald Trump has already foreshadowed an appeal which will take months to play out and will not be wrapped up until after the November election. Within hours of becoming a convicted criminal, Trump announced he would be campaigning once again, this time here in New York at Trump Tower. In 7 hours from now, he will host an event. It's 6 months until the US election and he has no time to waste.
Donald Trump is preparing for a fight.
This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Within minutes of the conviction, his website's front page became a fundraising platform and it crashed. He claimed to be a political prisoner, the victim of a witch hunt, and his lawyer is crying foul.
Did your client get a fair trial?
I mean, no, I don't think so.
Tonight, that client returned to his tower from a campaign fundraiser. The race to the White House now has a convicted felon. And days after Judge Juan Merchan sentences Donald John Trump, the Republican Party will formally declare him their pick for the White House. He also faces 3 other criminal trials. It's unlikely any will get underway before Election Day in November. And if Donald Trump wins, he could pardon himself from 2 federal cases. But he cannot pardon a state charge or conviction, including today's. Polls indicate this will be an incredibly tight presidential race. Just a handful of states will be key. The question remains how much today's historic event will move the needle in the minds of voters. The conviction will likely be used by both campaigns to try and sway those who'll be deciding America's commander-in-chief.
This is a justice system that hunts Republicans while protecting Democrats.
President Joe Biden not speaking publicly, instead posting online. There's only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box, a message he will likely spread across the country in the months ahead. The Biden campaign declaring the threat Donald Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. Watching all this closely from afar, an AUKUS ally.
The relationship between Australia and the United States is a relationship between nations, not just between individuals.
Even with a conviction, the 45th president can still be commander-in-chief. If he avoids jail, he can still vote for himself. But state law means he now can't possess a gun or obtain a liquor licence. Tonight, America has a new page in its history books. And at Donald Trump's Florida home, they're flying the flag for a convicted criminal. In the United States, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
A massive convoy of trucks and utes descended on the city today as farmers protested the end of live sheep exports. More than 3,000 making the trip from around WA worried the ban will wipe out regional communities.
Bringing their fight to the city. Around 3,000 farmers, truckies, shearers and their families travelling from across WA, demanding the Albanese government's ban on live sheep exports be overturned.
I think everyone's just sick and tired of being kicked in the guts, and it's time that we all stood up.
People are at the breaking point, and then to say, right, you don't have a future, it's a pretty low blow.
Decking out their vehicles, spreading the message to keep the sheep. They're worried the ban, due to come into effect in 2028, will decimate regional towns.
Shearers, truckies, stockies, you name it, it's going to affect communities.
Less people in our communities mean less children in our schools, less businesses in our towns, less people playing sport, and slowly regional communities will just die.
But it won't just be rural WA that suffers.
We're just out there to feed the world and make sure everyone gets food on their plate.
I think overall, people in Perth, our city cousins, support us in the country.
The industry refuting claims it doesn't have animal welfare standards in mind, saying Australia follows some of the highest standards in the world.
We're doing it the best way, and we've proven that.
We care for our sheep so much, and we treat them with full respect for their whole lives.
Worried the ban could see standards slip.
The markets where we're sending live sheep to want live sheep because they slaughter them today and they eat them today. They don't eat chilled meat. So all that's going to do is we're going to outsource animal welfare to another nation that won't provide it.
It's clear today just how many people and families this ban will affect. Farmers say they won't give up the fight until it's overturned. But the federal government isn't backing down.
We know from surveys that this policy has the overwhelming support of West Australians. So now what we're doing is getting on and delivering an election commitment.
This is just evidence that the bush has had enough. We're sick of being pushed around the place. We're sick of being dictated to by a federal government that's not listening.
Sarah Smith, 9 News.
A health worker has revealed Florida double killer Mark Bombara was being treated for a brain cyst, and there were concerns his behaviour was escalating. The worker also says health staff had no idea the 63-year-old was a licensed firearm owner, raising questions about information sharing between government agencies.
Speaking out in the hope of change to the health system.
We don't know if someone's got 13 guns at home.
No one tells us that, and it's only if someone offers that information that we can actually then take that into our assessment.
The health worker revealing to WA Today and 9 News that Mark Bombara had a cyst in his brain when he drove to Floreat a week ago and shot dead Jennifer Patelchek and her daughter Gretel.
Ultimately, this man, from looking at his current health condition, had a very compromised and vulnerable brain.
Speaking on the condition of anonymity, the health professional says Mark Bombara's family had raised concerns about his behaviour escalating.
The hospital staff had also noticed on the ward him being irritated and agitated and not displaying the normal behaviour you would see on a ward.
Also revealing medical staff recommended the 63-year-old's driver's licence be suspended on medical grounds. The worker says there should be better information sharing between government agencies about gun ownership, and health professionals should also be able to make recommendations to suspend a person's firearms licence where they hold concerns.
If we can get back to mandatory reporting about driving a car, we should include mandatory reporting regarding medical clearance for a gun licence and gun possession. That is absolutely common sense.
Our gun reform is very much looking at how we can better share information across health and police agencies. So we're building systems to get much better information sharing.
The North Metropolitan Health Service says Sir Charles Gardner Hospital treated Mr Bombara in early May for a series of small strokes. While he was in our care, there were no signs of reduced mental capacity, aggression or suicide risk.
It's not just mental health that affects our decision-making or risk. It's our actual health that can actually affect risk as well.
Bombara's daughter Ariel raised her own concerns with police about her father's weapons less than 2 months before the murders, as she and her mum fled the family home.
The gun reforms being discussed currently are an important step, but it is my unwavering belief that even without his guns, my father would have committed a horrific act of violence which likely would have claimed lives.
Jamie Freestone, 9 News.
Perth Airport will become the second largest in the country following a $5 billion deal with Qantas. Plans include a new terminal allowing an extra 4 million passengers to fly, with cheaper airfares on the cards.
Move over, Melbourne. Perth is about to become Australia's second biggest aviation destination.
This is going to be, when completed, the largest airport hub complex outside of Sydney.
It will completely change the face of Perth Airport.
Under the $5 billion plan for Perth Airport, Qantas and Jetstar are relocating to their own terminal in 2031. Plus, there'll be a new runway by 2028, upgraded Terminals 3 and 4, 2 multi-storey car parks, and our first airport hotel.
These works will create around 3,000 new jobs across the construction period.
Perth has watched a painful dispute between the airline and airport over fees. That now put to bed.
It settles a whole range of historic issues.
Look, certainly would have been better all round if it had been resolved earlier.
4.4 million more passengers will fly from Perth annually by next decade. Plans enabling them to board more direct flights to overseas destinations.
Jetstar will triple its international network out of Perth.
Love to see direct Tokyo flight, love to see a direct flight from India.
Also being promised, cheaper airfares for flyers. The Qantas boss flagging an announcement is imminent for new Jetstar routes within WA.
We're bringing access to what Jetstar has done for the rest of Australia.
Conor McGovern, 9 News.
WA Police and the Country Health Service have apologised to the family of Ms Jew, a young Aboriginal woman who died in police custody. Ms Jew was arrested over unpaid fines in 2014 but died at the Headland Health Campus from pneumonia and septicemia caused by an infection in a broken rib. The two organisations releasing a statement saying, "We are truly sorry for the circumstances of Ms Jew's death and recognise the significant impact her passing has had on her family and her community."
The apology has been well received by the family. They were part of a mediation process working through that apology, and they're satisfied of that apology, though they've made it clear it does not bring their daughter back.
The mediation process finished in March of this year. Bruce Lerman has lodged an appeal against his crushing defamation defeat by Network 10 and host Lisa Wilkinson. In April, the federal court found that on the balance of probabilities, the former Liberal staffer raped Brittany Higgins at Parliament House in 2019. Lerman filed the paperwork at the 11th hour. The deadline to do so was today. Kensington Palace has given a rare update on the Princess of Wales, announcing she won't be attending a key military event next month. The King, however, will be at the annual Trooping the Colour, but his role has been scaled back as he recovers from cancer.
Pinpoint precision at a practice for the King's birthday parade. This year, the Irish Guards will troop their colour at the annual event. The Princess of Wales is their Colonel-in-Chief and would usually take the salute at a dress rehearsal on June 8. But in a rare public update on her movements, Kensington Palace has announced Kate won't be attending as she continues chemotherapy.
We wish the Colonel of the Irish Guards the best of best wishes for her recovery. And again, the Irish Guards are hugely proud to have her as their Colonel and want to put on a really special show this year.
Trooping the Colour is a spectacular display of the British military, full of pomp and ceremony when traditionally the royal family watched the fly past from the Buckingham Palace balcony, waving to crowds. Whether Kate will be at the June 15 event is not clear. The palace has announced the King will take part in the Trooping the Colour event, but the capacity in which he does so will be altered slightly at the advice of the monarch's medical team. King Charles won't inspect the guards on horseback as he did last year. Instead, he'll do so from a carriage alongside Queen Camilla. The adjustment, a reminder that the King remains on the road to recovery from his own cancer battle. In London, Jessica Millward, 9 News.
Football fanatics have descended on Optus Stadium for tonight's clash between Italian giants AC Milan and AS Roma. Some diehard fans going to extreme lengths, proving you can't put a price on passion.
Clocking more miles than goals, one of AS Roma's biggest fans comes all the way from Finland.
I have flown like 250,000 kilometres, which is more than 6 times around the world.
In the past year alone, Juha Artinen has followed his team to 10 different countries. Tonight's clash against AC Milan, match number 82.
All this I have done for the love of AS Roma.
Divorced and with adult children, Juha's married to the sport. President of Finland's Roma fan club, working remotely and banking annual leave to get up close with his idols.
All the Roma fans are like my brothers, like my sisters. We are big family.
Tonight's crowd will witness the first time two Serie A teams go head-to-head on Australian soil. Football fanatics celebrating throughout the day with pre-game events across the city.
We've seen a lot of engagement in the community. The legends have been out meeting their supporters. We've made sure that when we have these visiting teams and visiting supporters, we're creating a week-long festival.
AC Milan the favourites, but Juha says he's not in it for the glory.
We are not here because Roma wins every time. We have a very strong connection with the Roma history.
His ultimate goal to retire and move to the Eternal City and his team.
Then everything will become much more easier.
Sinead Maripodi, 9 News.
Let's go live now to Paddy Sweeney at Optus Stadium. Paddy, football frenzy has well and truly taken over.
It certainly has, Michael. It's been a massive few days for football fanatics and we're almost there. Less than an hour to go until kick-off. And the Italian spirit has definitely come to the stadium. Lots of chanting and colour as far as the eye can see. Now, tonight's friendly between AC Milan and AS Roma is not quite a sellout, but it's very close to it. More than 55,000 diehard fans will be here at Optus Stadium to see the historic Italian clash, Michael, and it's the first time these two sides have played on Australian shores, and judging by the appetite of fans, we're hoping they'll be back for more.
It's going to be a great night. Paddy, thank you. Fortunately, no rain for tonight's match, but Emma Griffiths, it will be back.
That's right, Tomo. We're set to see up to 100 millimetres fall in our southwest from tonight through to Sunday. A severe weather warning has been issued, extending from as far south as Walpole to as far north as Kalbarri, including the metro area. Here we can expect the initial front to move through after midnight Saturday, with very heavy rainfall as much as 50 millimetres in the metro area, while 70 in the hills. Well, there's also to a warning on the waters.
On top of those strong winds, we are expecting to see increased swells up to 6 to 7 metres.
It was certainly a different story today. Those at Trigg Beach lucky enough to see a double rainbow across the water this morning. We started with a low of 12.8 degrees before climbing to a top of 21.6 just after 3 this afternoon. Now, tomorrow is the first day of winter, so make sure to switch off your sprinklers. But, Tomo, it's all happening this weekend, from sunshine to storms. I'll have a little later soon.
Crazy, up to 7 metres swell and 70 mils of rain. That is extraordinary. Emma, thank you. Ahead this Friday, a dirt bike rider seriously injured after slamming into a parked police car in our southern suburbs. Details after the break, plus a terrifying moment. A Jetstar plane slides off the runway in a wild landing. We'll take you underwater as an endangered species moves into Sydney Harbour's Seahorse Hotel. And an Australian couple caught in the Singapore Airlines plane plunge finally return home. That's next. A dirt bike rider was raced to hospital after crashing into a parked police car in our southern suburbs. It happened in Brookdale around 9 o'clock last night when officers were responding to an unrelated job. The 31-year-old is recovering in Royal Perth Hospital. New Zealand's Prime Minister has slammed the Albanese government for changing a controversial immigration ruling that's led to violent criminals being allowed to stay in Australia. The independent body responsible for overturning visa cancellations today revealed more than 180 have been reinstated since the direction was made.
Long-standing friends across the ditch.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Thank you.
But tonight, trans-Tasman tensions are flaring as a deportation deal is thrown out.
We regret the decision that Australia has made.
So we have a good relationship. We had a good chat yesterday. Australia makes our decisions in our national interest.
That decision to rewrite a ministerial direction which had allowed dozens of foreign criminals to stay in the country. The ruling, originally brought in to appease New Zealand's concerns about taking back Kiwi citizens who have broken the law but have spent most of their lives in Australia.
It's not fair that actually we get deportees coming back to New Zealand that have got very little connection or no connection to this country. That's not right.
The Albanese government has bungled this both in terms of the safety of Australians and our diplomatic relations with New Zealand.
The direction also leading to people from other nations with serious offences keeping their visas.
The federal government blames the Administrative Appeals Tribunal for ultimately reinstating visas that were cancelled by the Commonwealth. Facing questions today, the independent body took responsibility for those decisions but maintained they were based on the direction issued by Immigration Minister Andrew Giles.
We seek to hear the evidence, listen to the submissions, make findings of fact, apply the law, apply directions and come to a conclusion. You would be concerned that that person could be gunned down on their return to their own country.
Changes promised as soon as possible, but still no confirmation what that will look like. Claudia Radoljak, 9 News.
An Australian couple badly injured on board a Singapore Airlines flight have touched down in Adelaide after a medical flight from Bangkok. Keith Davis suffered lacerations while his wife Kerry sustained a paralysing spinal injury when the plane hit extreme turbulence earlier this month.
Personally, I feel guilty that I'm able to stand here and walk around and talk to you guys. That's my feeling. I'm coming to terms with that.
25 passengers remain hospitalised in Bangkok. A scare for passengers on board a Jetstar flight this morning. The plane skidding off the runway as it touched down at Christchurch Airport in New Zealand.
A camera rolling as a Jetstar flight touches down in Christchurch. It all appears routine until the aircraft suddenly veers and then skids off the runway and onto grass.
Did we just crash?
Thankfully, no. But for those on board, it was a scary ride.
All of a sudden, we kind of hit the ground and then they stopped. And then I think we skidded on some grass and ended up diagonally on the tarmac.
You can hear what appears to be the grinding of the brakes as the flight crew attempts to cut short the landing.
It did seem like he was pushing the pedal rather harshly.
The pilot was quick to jump on the PA.
For safety reasons, we've had to bring the aircraft to a stop.
And the airline just as swift to explain the cause of the drama.
On landing, the crew experienced a steering issue associated with one of 3 hydraulic systems failing on the aircraft.
The plane is now grounded after the bumpiest of landings.
I'm from Christchurch and trauma from all the earthquakes, and I haven't been back much since, so kind of was like a welcome home, here's some more trauma for you.
Nerves rattled, but no harm done. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Rescue teams in Papua New Guinea have ruled out finding survivors a week on from a devastating landslide. At least 670 people have now been confirmed dead, but there are fears for more than 2,000 others. Treacherous terrain and a lack of heavy machinery have slowed down rescue efforts. A major mission is underway in Sydney Harbour. 101 endangered White's seahorses released into the bay to help boost numbers ahead of breeding season this summer. The species has declined by more than 50% due to pollution. Artificial habitats, also known as seahorse hotels, have been placed in the area to help the population recover. A top honour for WA's most successful jockey. Next, hear from Damien Oliver as he's crowned West Australian of the Year. Calls for a WA man turned Queensland mayor to stand down as he admits to misleading voters. Plus, the Australian scientist behind a promising new treatment for anorexia, and why a world-renowned conservationist has paid a special visit to Perth Zoo. That's still to come. Legendary jockey Damien Oliver has been named the 2024 Western Australian of the Year. Oliver's career in horse racing spanned decades and included 3 Melbourne Cups and 129 Group 1 wins. He was also acknowledged for his work off the track in setting up the Oliver Foundation.
Well, racing has been really good to me. It's taken some things away from me being a father and a brother. But it's through that I was able to learn to give something back to the sport. You know, that's something I'm really proud of, and giving back, you know, to the people that haven't been so fortunate.
The Australian of the Year will be announced on the 25th of January next year. Western Australia could soon gain an extra federal seat for the next election, taking the state's total number to 16. The proposal by the Redistribution Committee will move current boundaries and create the division of Bullwinkle. The changes are due to a booming population in some areas. The new division would include Kalamunda, Armidale, York and Northam. The Melbourne seat of Higgins will be abolished. The Queensland Premier says the Mayor of Townsville should stand down after he apologised for misleading voters about his time in various West Australian Army squadrons. In a car crash interview, former Troy Thomson also admitted he had not completed his Curtin University degree and claimed he couldn't recall facing criminal charges.
A mayor with a memory problem.
You're going to forget things from time to time. And I actually did.
Well, it's clearly not a good look. In fact, it's a lot worse than not a good look.
Troy Thomson making staggering admissions on a current affair, unable to recall facing court and being fined $500 for attempted fraud and forgery uttering in 2008.
I don't know anything about it, I'll be honest.
Also blaming his failing memory for misleading voters about his record in the army after claiming before the election.
I spent 5 years in the military in Perth. So I was in Signals, in Swanbourne, or Karrakatta, Fremantle, and SAS Swanbourne.
I firmly believe, up until I received this report, that I'd served 5 years.
Records now allegedly show he completed a 2-week recruit course, an Army reservist cooking course in 1991, and that he was not in the SAS.
I probably didn't say it right pre-election, but I certainly spent some time with people from SAS.
What the mayor could recall was the reason for deleting 2 university degrees from his LinkedIn profile.
Those have now been taken down.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because I never completed them.
Even though he claimed during the election campaign he was a business graduate. The Premier says the mayor should stand down, with multiple investigations underway, including by the Crime and Corruption Commission.
But I think it's in Townsville's best interests for them to have a mayor that hasn't lied to them.
Troy Thomson issuing a statement today that I have no intention to step aside as some of the naysayers would like. Townsville's councillors also calling on him to resign, ensuring the controversy is far from over.
Are there any more skeletons we should know about now?
I hope not, But if there is, I'll own them.
Tim Avia, 9 News.
Australian researchers are exploring a new electromagnetic therapy for anorexia. The treatment targets the part of the brain responsible for causing symptoms of the eating disorder.
With waves of energy, these researchers are embarking on a world-first trial that could finally bring a cure for anorexia.
If you fire lots and lots of pulses, it changes the activity levels of the brain tissue.
While electrotherapy has been used to treat depression for decades, this is about targeting the brain network that appears to cause anorexic behaviours.
We identify each individual's specific target.
Discovering this specific anorexia brain network was a major breakthrough for researchers. The team from Monash University and Alfred Health identified it in a sample of patients who had all unexpectedly developed anorexia symptoms after a brain injury.
These were healthy people who did not have anorexia behaviours.
When I was struggling with anorexia, I genuinely thought that my brain was hijacked.
Lexi Crouch battled anorexia for 15 years. Now an eating disorder coach, she says the trial brings hope.
It is not something that you are deemed crazy for. It's not something that should be hidden away. There is actually biological reasons.
20 participants will take part in the 10-minute sessions over several months. Then interim results are expected early next year.
We really do need to add more innovative and evidence-based treatment options.
To have made a full recovery from anorexia is something that I wish for everybody in the future.
Justine Conway, 9 News.
Still to come tonight, our Aussie cash crusaders, the seniors putting their foot down to keep currency as king. And how a world-renowned conservationist is inspiring new generations at Perth Zoo. But first, sport with Paddy Sweeney at Optus Stadium. And Paddy, crowds are piling in for the Italian Festival of Footy.
That they are, Tomo. The chanting raucous as thousands of fans are draped in AC Milan and AS Roma's colours. Tomorrow, the Eagles will look to bring the same excitement, but will have to do so minus a star. Magpie misfortune, a gun veteran becomes the latest Collingwood casualty. And surfs up in Tahiti. There's Olympic gold in their waves. The Eagles will be without midfielder Tim Kelly for tomorrow's clash with the Saints and could be forced to make another late change. 9 News understands forward Jake Waterman has undergone scans on a shoulder issue sustained during training yesterday.
Jake Waterman's arguably the most improved player in the competition. 30 goals from 10 games, sitting 4th in the Coleman medal, already a career best season. But Adam Simpson knows the Eagles can't rely on one player.
Not everyone can be the guy that kicks 4 or 5, so I don't think we're out there to win a Coleman for Jakey. I think we want to get a really good forward line that's connected and spreads the load.
And that could start as early as tomorrow if West Coast opt not to risk the 26-year-old. The Eagles already taking a hit. Prime mover Tim Kelly sidelined with a hip injury. Zane True taking his place. Kelly joining Jaden Hunt on the sidelines, the defender managing a toe issue.
He'll be at least 2 weeks, Hunty, so with a bye coming up after that, so we'll give him a good 3-week break.
In his club debut, Matt Flynn given the big task of nullifying Saints ruckman Rowan Marshall.
Yeah, he's in great form. Yeah, must average 6 or 7 clearances himself.
Bailey Williams to move into attack on hand should Flynn require assistance.
The fact we've got 2 now might give us a little bit of a different look. When someone might be struggling, we can bring in Bailey or vice versa.
The coach backing veteran Andrew Gaff to make an impact after more than 2 months in the waffle.
His form's been really good, and on the weekend it probably the extra bit of impact on a game was there for us to see.
The Dockers heading to Alice Springs. Forward duo Michael Frederick and Sam Sturt returning. Tom Emmett dropped. Matt Johnson managed. Alexia Pesce, 9 News.
Collingwood's injury woes have deepened. Scott Pendlebury to miss a month of football due to a partial tendon tear in his bicep. Collingwood are also with their troubles, currently in the midst of their worst losing streak under coach Chris Scott. From 7 straight wins to 4 straight losses, 2024's been a roller coaster for the Cats.
I don't think we were flying at the start of the year, even though the scoreline was 7-0. And I don't think it's been a disaster over the last month.
The The 1-9 Richmond seemingly the light at the end of the tunnel, but Chris Scott still won't take them lightly.
Sydney are clearly the best team in the competition as it stands right now. The only team that's beaten them is Richmond. We're expecting that version.
Breaking the 11-year Blues at the Adelaide Oval, Carlton finally beating a local side in the City of Churches.
And that was one of the better ones that I've played in for sure. To be able to go away in a ground where we haven't been able to have as much success, but then also against a side that's in really good nick, to come over the 4 points is really pleasing.
The Blues jumping into the top 4, although they aren't getting ahead of themselves.
Obviously it fills us with belief, but a big thing for us is staying level and staying present every moment. We want to be able to come in on a Monday and guess not really be able to tell if we've won or lost.
Tom de Koning cleared of any injury following this heavy landing with just over a minute to play. Carlton and Port playing as guinea pigs to the AFL's change to the holding the ball rule.
Yeah, it was a little bit hotter, but yeah, we'll see how it pans out. We were the first game of the weekend when we found out we were going to make new changes, so we'll see how it plays out over the rest of the weekend.
And the AFLW fixtures been released. Daisy Pearce to coach her first game at home for the Eagles against Richmond on Friday, August 30. The Dockers beginning their campaign the next day away to Essendon. The Derby returning to Optus Stadium in a round 8 clash on Saturday, October 19. While AC Milan and AS Roma are just 15 minutes away from kick-off, the Matildas are currently underway in their friendly against China. The Adelaide clash, one of 2 final hit-outs before the Olympics. The Aussies unsettled in the opening minutes, struggling to find their footing on the slippery turf.
Mackenzie Arnold, who slips in the penalty box, and this was going to be one of the questions, just how is it underfoot at Adelaide Oval, where there was Australian rules football match.
The Australians missing an early chance, while China landing the first blow only moments ago and currently lead 1-0. To tennis now, and for the first time in his career, Alex de Minaur is through to the French Open third round. The 11th seed overcoming a series of rain delays before posting a straight sets win against Spain's Jomar Munard. Fellow Australian Thanasi Kokkinakis is also into the third round. He came from 2 sets down to claim a 5-set thriller. He'll next face 12th seed Taylor Fritz. To golf, and WA's Minjee Lee has escaped the carnage on the opening day of the Women's US Open. The 28-year-old shooting an even par round, sitting 2 shots off the lead.
All right.
It was a very different story, though, for world number 1 Nelly Korda. She endured a horror first-round showing. The American shooting a disastrous 10 on the par 3 12th hole, hitting 3 balls into a stream on her way to a 10-over par round. And finally tonight, this will go down as one of the great days of competitive surfing. Cho Poo came roaring to life for the final day of the Tahiti Pro. There were perfect 10-point rides and heavy wipeouts before Brazilian Italo Ferreira walked away with the trophy. The feared wave will be back in the spotlight again soon. Cho Poo in surfing's Olympic venue for the Paris Games. So, Tomo, massive swell there at Cho Poo, and the stage is set here at Optus Stadium. Just over 10 minutes to go. AC Milan and AS Roma, more than 55,000 fans packing out Optus Stadium.
Paddy, thank you and enjoy. Next is Cash Still King, the big benefits to notes and coins, and why beloved conservationist Dr Jane Goodall has made a surprise visit to Perth Zoo. And Emma Griffiths, sunshine and storms this weekend.
Tomo, sunny skies tomorrow, then up to 70 millimetres is set to fall in parts on Sunday alone. I'll have the details soon.
Australian shares snapped a losing streak to end the week as a burrito chain confirmed it's ready to make a stock exchange debut. Here's Stephanie Anderson.
Well, Guzmán Gomez, or GYG as it's known, has wrapped up its plans to float. With June 20 crunch time for its ASX listing, the chain will enter with a valuation of $2.2 billion. It comes as the market snapped a three-day run in the red, closing up 1%. Happy hour at Treasury Wine Estates after it ended 2.8% higher. Bega Cheese also had a win and Woolworths rose 2%. A positive Friday for the big four banks too. CBA ended up 1.3%, ANZ 1.15%. And the Aussie dollar had a fairly solid day. It's buying around 66 US cents and 52 British pence.
With more businesses banning cash payments, Australian seniors are fighting for their rights and supporting a new campaign. Tonight, 9 News looks into the benefits of paying with cash, including financial advantages.
Jean is a cash crusader, using the currency whenever she can. What do you do when you go to a business that's card only?
I walk away.
Anne's on board as well.
I would always ask to pay cash wherever possible.
They're just two of many seniors concerned about cash being removed from circulation.
Whilst digital payments have a place, cash is really important, in particular for seniors in Australia.
National seniors feeling so passionate about keeping cash alive, they're asking businesses that accept cash to display this new sticker. One of the first on board, fashion designer Kerry Craig's Cafe and Fashion Emporium. Kerry's dad Peter says it makes sense for customers.
They expect to pay cash, to be honest, because they've grown up with cash and that's the way we live, and at my age I do too.
According to national seniors, older Australians prefer cash for many reasons, including fear of scams.
Many of them are really concerned and they love the security that comes with cash.
There's no denying it's quick and easy to tap and go. The downside is that you can lose track of how much you're spending, which is why many seniors like the idea of using cash.
Great for budgeting. They know they can live within their means, they can see it, and they can plan much better.
I can control exactly my spending. I know exactly where my finances are going.
We seniors can support the campaign by continuing to pay with cash and supporting businesses that do.
May I pay cash? It's the best way to show the banks, government and corporate Australia in general that cash has a role to play.
I think we need to make certain that cash is out there all the time.
Bruce Page, 9 News.
World-renowned conservationist Jane Goodall has dropped into the Perth Zoo to the delight of starstruck keepers known for her pioneering work with chimpanzees in the 1960s. Dr Goodall is in WA for her Reasons for Hope tour. On the agenda, connecting with students about sustainability, as well as meeting a numbat and the Goodfellows tree kangaroos. Well, an awkward encounter in the US state of Michigan when a driver zoomed into a court call while behind the wheel despite having a suspended licence. Corey Harris appeared on screen while attempting to park his car.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
I'm looking at his record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I don't even know why he would do that.
Nor do we. We've got no idea. The judge revoked Harris's bond. He spent 2 days in jail before being released to face court again next week, and apparently he claimed he was just trying to steer clear of the law. Stay with us. A wet and wild weekend of weather ever has the forecast right after this break.
Welcome back. Another chilly day today with little patches of rain. We started with a low of 13 degrees before climbing to our top of 21 just after 3 this afternoon. Right now it's sitting around 19 degrees. To the charts, a vigorous cold front is slowly approaching the west coast, bringing with it heavy rainfall and damaging wind gusts to much of the state. While across the nation tomorrow, rain increasing in Brisbane, 24, rain and 19 in Sydney. Back in the north of our state, sunny and 31 for Broome, 28 in in Karratha and more sunshine for Exmouth. Further south, showers, possible heavy falls in Bunbury, up to 40 millimetres set to fall there tomorrow, becoming windy in Albany, 23. On the waters, winds northerly 20 to 30 knots, tending northwesterly 25 to 30 knots in the evening. Winds even set to reach up to 35 knots in the late evening. Seas increasing to between 2 to 3 metres in the morning, and swell westerly 2 to 3 metres, increasing to between 2.5 metres to 4 metres during the afternoon. Around the metro area, a sunny day in Joondalup, followed by late showers. Kalamunda, 22 degrees, and showers increasing in Mandurah and Rockingham, and 23. For Perth, 12 degrees will be our low tonight, before a surprisingly sunny day tomorrow with a top of 23. But then from midnight Saturday, that rain is back, up to 50 millimetres set to fall in the metro area and 70 in the hills. There is a severe weather warning stretching from Walpole all the way to Kalbarri, with heavy rainfall and damaging winds. Now, that cold front will bring continual rain across Sunday in Perth, but then by Monday we'll see partly cloudy skies again. It's a mixed bag, Tomo, but up to 70 millimetres in the hills on Sunday alone. Can you believe it?
That is a lot of rain. Emma, thank you. That is 9 News for this Friday from the team here at 9. Enjoy your long weekend. Good night.